I'd like to tell you about the first boy I brought home from college. This isn't what you're thinking. He wasn't a jock, a rebel, or a nerd, and this wasn't a love affair. It goes more like this. A 20-year-old white Jewish girl and a 40-year-old Tibetan monk walk into 7-Eleven. They buy Slurpees, smile incessantly, and take selfie upon selfie upon selfie. My friendship with Jamyang Gampo, James Lama, began in the fall of my sophomore year. We were in a small interdisciplinary course called Science and the Nature of Evidence. James was one of 6 monks in his cohort of the Emory Tibet Science Initiative, a partnership between Emory University and His Holiness the Dalai Lama designed to bridge East and West. I was intrigued by James's constant smile and jovial energy and spontaneously invited him to lunch at the Duck after class one day. Shortly after our first meal together, he asked me to be his philosophy tutor. I had no philosophy experience, but I enthusiastically agreed. The rest is history. 5 months later, my family was on our way to pick up James from the airport. Some of my fondest memories are from James's time in Chicago, riding on the Navy Pier Ferris wheel, visiting museums, ordering Lou Malnati's pizza, playing board games, cruising around in my dad's convertible, and watching lots and lots of Tom and Jerry. I'd like to share the most integral lessons I've learned from our friendship, along with some photos that I guarantee will make your heart smile. Full presence is powerful. Before James's arrival in Chicago, I asked him if he would be checking a bag or only bringing a carry-on so that I could know where to meet him at the airport. James could be an icon for the growing minimalist approach. He arrived with solely his school backpack. The bag I carry around campus weighs significantly more than what James brought for a 4-day trip. But because he wasn't carrying around any extra baggage, he could be fully present, aware, alive, something we should all strive for. Patience really is a virtue. Living in the present frees us from dwelling on the past or fretting about the future, but reaching and maintaining full presence is quite difficult for many of us. When Uber was taking 10 minutes longer than expected, I grew worried about missing our train home. Based on my visceral reaction, James became concerned as well. I explained that missing this train would mean waiting 30 minutes for the next one, and that the train ride was an hour long. He informed me that the train ride from his monastery to the closest airport is 3 days. Well, that sure put things into perspective. Cultural barriers are an illusion. Before meeting James, if you told me that one of my closest friends would be a Tibetan monk, I'd say you were crazy. What could 2 people of such disparate cultural upbringings possibly have in common? A lot. Intellectual curiosity, a love of learning, a desire to find and emit positivity, and a drive to develop meaningful connections with others. James is the Khenpo of his monastery. Having achieved the highest level of Tibetan Buddhist philosophical study, he now serves as president. But our typical conversations don't concern philosophical principles or scientific inquiry. I haven't become a devout Buddhist monk. I don't turn to James for spiritual guidance. I turn to him to feel happy. I don't think of James as a holy religious figure, but simply as a good friend. In a world full of religious, ethnic, and cultural conflict, our friendship highlights the ability of humans to find meaningful connections regardless of background. Sure, the language barrier creates challenges, but we usually just end up laughing, acknowledging how hard we are trying to express our thoughts coherently. Smiles and laughter compose the most potent universal language, friendship. James is now back in India, but we talk via Facebook quite often. Since he left, I've experienced a spiritual awakening myself, becoming an avid yogi, enrolling in cognitively based compassion training, and co-teaching a course exploring the intersection of the Dalai Lama's ethics and epigenetics. I've been explicitly learning what James taught me, that all human beings are fundamentally one, seeking to avoid suffering and achieve happiness. So that's the story of the first boy I brought home from college. It's definitely not what I expected, but I wouldn't want it any other way. And in case you're wondering, the second and third boys I brought home from college, Lobsang and Lekpa, were Tibetan monks as well, and they're sitting right here.